Hello everyone, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 is one of those tablets that Samsung made a few years ago, so let's go and see how this particular tab holds up in 2024. Let's see if it's still worth buying, if it's still worth using, and everything in between. Now, the first thing I'll definitely throw at you is that if you want to pick up one of these Samsung Galaxy Tabs, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7, on the front of this particular device, you are actually getting a fairly decent 11-inch TFT LCD panel. It has a 1600 by 2560 resolution, which is pretty crazy, and it's a 120Hz display as well. Now, this was not like the best looking display of all time, but I would probably tell you it was a pretty decent display when it came down to it, and I'm still a fan of the way this particular device looks. Like, it has a pretty good display, and it's about a 4-year-old phone now, which, when you look at it kind of makes sense. But I would tell you, when it comes down to this type of device, it looks very good. I don't really have like a crazy amount of things to complain about here with this type of device from that standpoint, but it still looks great, and I do think this in and of itself is another very good thing going on for this particular device. Very thin bezels around it, not really anything massively crazy going on with this particular tablet. On the front of it, you are also getting basically no bezel, which is really nice. On the bottom, you're getting that USB Type-C port, which is great, and you're also getting expandable storage on this particular device as well, which is another really cool thing. I love having expandable storage, and being able to put in my microSD card slot inside of this particular device is super cool. I love that a lot, and I will probably tell you this in and of itself once again as one of my most favorite things going on for this particular device. So that means a lot to me. I like it a lot, and this in and of itself is probably one of my favorite things going on for this particular device too. On the backside, you're getting your standard like aluminum feeling back. Feels very good in the hand. It feels very expensive, and I definitely do like having these types of devices because they just feel so premium, and it's definitely something I like a lot about these particular tablets. You also have a little bit of like an S Pen type of charging area. So it's a little area which allows you to go and just charge up your particular device. And I do think this in and of itself is another super cool thing going on for this particular device too. I really like that about this particular tablet, and it feels good, it looks good. There's really not that much to kind of complain about here. I definitely like these Samsung Galaxy Tabs, and this one is no exception. It looks very good. I love these things because of the way they look, and definitely gets a thumbs up for me without a doubt. So from the outside, it definitely gets a thumbs up for me. The only thing this display is missing that maybe some of the newer displays have on the Samsung Galaxy, like Tab S9 or whatever, is like a better display. You're definitely, I would say, getting a better display on the Samsung Galaxy Tabs and all those ones. On top of that, you're also getting, I would say, significantly better, maybe like features and performance and everything. We'll get into that in a second. But even beyond that, it's not the biggest deal in the world. And this one's already turning 4 years old, so you kind of already know what you're kind of expecting with these types of devices. Now, in terms of the pricing strategy, these tablets, again, aren't that expensive anymore. You can buy them for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars cheaper than what they used to cost. And I do think this, again, is another really cool thing going on for this particular device. The fact that you can just go ahead and buy this thing and it's significantly cheaper and you're still getting very good experience from it is a very, very cool thing going on for this particular phone too. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. In terms of the cameras, this thing, honestly, it really wasn't like the greatest, best camera that they could have thrown inside of their tablet at that time. I mean, their phones were giving you like 8K capability at this moment, where the Tab S7 was basically giving you like the standard dual camera setup, which again is okay. It's a 13 megapixel wide and then like a 5 megapixel ultra wide camera and an 8 megapixel front facing camera. There's 4K at 30, which is fine, but you're only getting 1080p on the front, which I feel like is kind of a downside. Like, I would expect Samsung to kind of give us a little bit more capability when it came down to it, and unfortunately that was not the case. So this in and of itself, I would say, is kind of another downside with this particular tablet. It's just the camera really isn't that great, but it really isn't like the biggest deal in the world either. Like, if I'm being honest, this is still very much a very decent camera, for the most part. Again, no 4K at 60, which can be kind of a downside. Like, if I'm going through and getting a better performing device, I definitely want it to be as, having as solid of a camera as possible. And that is kind of what's going on here. It's not that great, but it's not that bad either. But you have to remember, like, if you have a Samsung Galaxy S10 or newer, that device is probably going to be giving you a better experience than the Samsung Galaxy Tab, S7. So if you have a Samsung Galaxy S10, S10e or above, including the S20, S21, all the phones after that, you're probably going to be getting a better experience on those devices than the Galaxy Tab S7. So you're really not going to be using this camera all that much probably anyways. But again, it's just like one other thing to kind of keep in mind. And I do think this in and of itself is another very, very big thing to kind of keep in mind as well. So in terms of that kind of covers it up here in terms of the camera side of things. Now, in terms of the software side, this is probably where the one area this tablet's kind of taking an L in, is because, it stopped at Android 13. So this in and of itself is probably one of the biggest downsides of these particular tablets, because you probably want it to be lasting as long as possible. And unfortunately, this tablet is already kind of done getting software support. So you probably want it lasting as long as possible. And like I said, that's not really what's going on here. You're getting a very good performing tablet right now. Still, it's still supported with software. It's still going to be here. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. But the tablet's done getting full on software updates. It's still supported in terms of Android 13 and maybe some security updates here and there. But it's not going to be getting any more updates beyond that, which again, can be kind of a downside for some people. If you're going through and wanting a tablet that's still supported for a long duration of time, this one may not be yet. So keep that in mind. Again, it's not the end of the world, but it's just one of those other things to kind of keep in mind when you're using this type of device. So that right there kind of covers it up there as well. In terms of the performance, this device had that Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 5G Plus chipset inside with 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM. The model that I actually had 6 gigabytes of RAM, and that was actually a pretty good performing tablet at that time. Nowadays, you can probably guess that this is not that great of a tablet anymore, and that's probably going to be one of the not the biggest problems. It's still good enough, but the way to kind of remember and to kind of think about this tablet is that it is about the same thing as the Samsung Galaxy Tab S. It's about the same thing as the Galaxy S20. So would you still use the Galaxy S20 in 2024? For probably a majority of people, the answer would probably be yes. And that is kind of how I feel about this particular tablet. You're still getting a very decent performing tablet from this thing, which is something I actually like a lot about this particular tablet. It still performs fairly well. It's not perfect by any means. There can be lots of issues and problems that you're going to run into. But I do think for a lot of people, you're probably going to be okay. And I do think that's probably the one thing that's going on for this particular tablet as well. So from that side, I'll probably tell you still very good. For the most part and probably for a vast majority of people, but it's not perfect, and that's probably going to be one of the issues that you're going to run into with this particular tablet when it comes down to it. So in terms of battery life, you're getting an 8,000 milliamp hour battery inside of this tablet, which is massive. That is a very, very big size battery to have inside of this type of tablet, and this in and of itself, once again, is a very cool feature to have. If you're going through and getting some sort of a device, you probably want it to have as great of a performance inside as possible, and this battery life is crazy. So I will tell you, when it kind of comes down to it, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 I think is still a very decent tablet to pick up. It's unsupported with software. That's my only downside. The performance and everything, I can honestly be okay with. It just so happens that the device's software just isn't getting updates anymore. So this in and of itself can be one of the issues that you run into with this particular device. Beyond that though, I think there's still a lot of reasons why this device is still good. I like this device a lot. I think it's still very relevant for the most part. But again, if you're wanting the better one for a majority of reasons out there, I think the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 is probably the one that I look at as probably being the better one. The Tab S8, the Tab S9, those are significantly better ones when it kind of comes down to it. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.